Welcome back guys to another YouTube video. It's Sam and today's project is going to be mainly HTML and CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. What we're building is an e-commerce website. As you can see right here, we're focusing on the sports market and yeah, you can see right here we have our header with our navigation, the icon with some text right here with a button, and then we have the different display of the products. We have product display, brand new products, exclusive product, then we have the comments from existing customers, and then we have our sponsors logos right here. And after that, finally, we have the footer with some social media links, some useful links, and also how you can get this website on your App Store or Google Play. So this is going to be a really nice project. It is a beginner's project. You should know a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but that's all. And this is mainly focusing on HTML and CSS. And that's it for the intro. Now let's get started. Yeah, so what we can see right here is you can see I have a store image, and this store image just holds all our images. We have app.js for our JavaScript, index.html for our HTML, of course, and our style.css. You don't have to worry about this VS Code. This is just JSON settings. It's not needed. All you need to have is have a file for your images. Call it whatever you want as far as you know the name. App.js or main.js or your JavaScript file. Have for sure your index.html file and your CSS, your style.css file. And now let's get to the index.html. I'm going to use Emmet and I click this and I get just this right here. I'm going to set the title to ecom website. And yeah, what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to link our CSS. So I'll write link CSS. Make sure it's linked to our CSS. Save that. And just down below, I'm going to do a script. And now we've connected our JavaScript and CSS. Yeah, so when I paste this, we can see right here, and I save it, we can see right here, we have our logo, which is this fanatic here, and this image right here. We set the width to 125 pixels, and we give it a class name of logo, and it's inside our nav bar div. And it's inside our nav bar div. So you can see right here, this is our logo. It's inside a div called logo. And then we have our nav right here. And this nav is inside unordered list. We gave it the ID name of menu items. And I will tell you later on when we get to JavaScript why we gave it an ID name of menu items. But for now, yeah, just forget about that. And then we have LIs with anchor tags. And we have home, products, about, contact, and account, which you can see right here. And then after that, after the nav, we have two images. And we have the first image, which is a cart, and we give it a size of 25 pixel width and height. And you can see it right here. And then the second one is this big icon right here. And we gave it a class name of menu icon. And it also has inside it on click. And on click is basically like an event listener. And what it does is when you give it a function, when you click on it, it calls this function. And this is all JavaScript. So we'll talk about it in the JavaScript section. Stay put for the JavaScript section so you can understand why we're using this. So these are the images for the nav or the nav bar. These are the nav bar images. The next part, we have this right here. And when I save it, we created a row. We gave it a class name of row. And inside this row, we have a column which takes a h1 tag and also a p tag. And we can see the h1 tag right here. Give your exercise a new mode. And we also see the p tag, which is this text right here. And after that, we also gave it a button. And you can see the button in front of an anchor tag. We use an anchor tag for a button. And you can see explore with this code right here. This is a HTML code, which is basically this arrow right here. And I'll show you where you can get that later on in the video. And the next thing we did is we also created another div. And in this div is where we housed our image. And it's this image right here of all the elite footballers in their own respective sports. So you can see LeBron for basketball, Ronaldo for football. I think this is Tom Brady. I don't know. This is rugby. I don't know what that is. This is a horse guy. That's Messi for sure. And yeah, Djokovic. But yeah, let's get back to the project. So we have a div for that. And then as you can see, all this is inside this row div. So now, if you notice, we have a row div, and then we also have this one here, which is our nav bar div. And the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how we wrapped all this into a container, and then we'll go to the CSS part, where is the styling, and I'll explain everything about the styling there. So right now you can see that we have this nav bar, this div called nav bar, and we also have this row right here, which basically holds our h1 and p tag with our banner, with our banner, with our banner image. With our banner image, they have two columns. That's why I gave it column 2. And you can see the first one here and the second one here, which holds the image. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap all this into a container, into a div, and we'll call it container. To the next thing, we wrapped all these elements into a div and we called it container. Before we go to the CSS part of this project, what we need to do is we need to put two libraries here, which is Google Fonts and also Font Awesome, because we will be using Font Awesome icons and we'll also be using Google Fonts, namely Poppins that you can see right here. So Poppins will be our font family, and we use Google Fonts later in the tutorial for the testimonials. So yeah, keep your heads up for that. As you can see right here, I commented out the menu icon because it's only needed for the mobile view when we're making this website responsive for different devices. It's not needed for the desktop view. So yeah, it's commented. I will uncomment it later on in the video. So keep your heads up for that. Now we go to the CSS section. And I save it, and now we can see the difference. In the CSS, I added margin 0, padding 0, box size and border box. That's why we see there are no spaces around here. And then I also added the font family, which is Poppins. And we can see the font is totally different. The next part is our nav bar. And you can remember nav bar from here. Nav bar right here. Our nav bar is what holds our icon and also our anchor tags, which is our navigation right here. So we made a display flex, align item center. You can see everything is centered. If I enlarge it, you can see everything is centered. We gave it a padding of 20 pixels. The next thing, the nav itself, which is our nav right here, we give it a flex 1 and we aligned items right. And that's why you see this is right here and the other one is at the right corner. What we can see in our unordered list right here is that we gave it a display inline block and we also give it a list style type none. As you can see, our li is inside our ul right here. So our li's, we give them an inline block. That's why we see everything is spread out. And also we give them a margin right 20 pixels to create some space around them. So this is the 20 pixels. There's 20 pixel padding right. That's why it's to the right, and it's 20 pixel that actually separates this all these elements. Now for the anchor tag, we set the text decoration to none because we don't want any decoration on it. And we also set the color to black. And we will change this color from black to white because we are going to do something next, which is with the header and add some coloring, and white will be better than black. And you will see why very soon. Our p tag, we set the color to black, and we'll also change the p tag's color later to white. And in the container we just created right here, which is this here, we give it a maximum width of 1300 pixels, basically saying it can't be bigger than this. That's the maximum width. We give it a margin auto, so everything will be placed in the middle. And then we give also a padding left 25 pixels and a padding right 25 pixels. Now this is how it looks. You can see the padding right here 25 pixels and the padding right here to 25 pixels. Now what we're going to do in our HTML is that we're going to put all these elements, all this content In this container, we're going to put all of them inside a div called header. We're going to put all these elements inside a div called the header. I can see it right here. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. And now you can see that the whole content has changed. It looks totally different. So now let me explain how we got to this. We can see that we set the row, which is right here. This row right here, which holds this content and this content right here. We gave it a display flex, and then we gave it align item center. Then we also gave it a flex wrap, and justify content space around. Then the column, we gave it a flex basis of 50% and a minimum width of 300 pixels. The image, we gave the image a maximum width of 100% of the container it's in, and also we gave it a padding of 50 pixels to 0. We gave the H1 tag a font of 50 pixels and a line weight of 60 pixels. And we also added a margin of 25 pixels. And that's why you see it looks like this. What I'm going to do real quickly is also change the color of the anchor tag, because I told you earlier I would do that. Now we change it to white, and change the color of the P tag to white also. And yeah, it looks much better. So now for the button, which is an anchor tag, we give it a display inline block. We give it a background of this color right here. We give it a color of white for the font, for the text, and we also give it a padding of 8 pixels to 30 pixels to get this space around the text. And then we added for sure the border radius 30 pixel to give it this curved button-like feel. And also we added a transition of background 0.5 seconds. And why we added this was for the transition that will happen when we use our hover effect, which is right here. And we set the color of the hover effect to this color right here. So when we do it like this, it has a transition of 0.5 seconds. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave it down in the comments below and I will explain. And for the header that we added in the HTML right here, which holds all the container, we gave it the background. And the background, we used radial gradient. We set it to circle, and this could be circle, it could be to right, it could be to left, it could be to top, to bottom. And what this just means is that the color fusion goes in a circular motion. And we set the two colors 0% and 100% for these two. So that's why we get this fill right here. And also for the header.row, we give it a margin top of 70 pixels. And that's how we got to this. So I hope this makes sense. It looks really nice looking website with the fonts and everything. And yeah, now let's get to the other sections. Now we'll go back to the HTML section, and the next part is going to be our categories. And what I pasted right here is we created a div, we called it small container. And inside that small container, we have another div called category, which holds another div called row. And this row holds columns. So we have 3 columns here. That's why the div that holds these columns is called col3, and it holds images. So we have image 1, image 2, and image 3. And now I save it. Let's look at it. This is what we just did here. These are the images we inserted right now. But I know they're looking all over the place, and that's what CSS is for. So let's go to the CSS and see what happens to these images. Now for the CSS, we gave this category, which is right here, which is inside the small container. We gave it 70 pixels to 0, a margin. And for the column 3 or col3, we give it a flex basis of 50%, a minimum width of 250 pixels, and a margin bottom of 30 pixels. And for the image, we give it a width of 100%, so it takes 100% of the container it's in. And for our small container, we give it a minimum width of 1080 pixels. We gave it a margin of auto, and we also added the same padding left and right that we did earlier, 25 pixels. And this is how it looks like. So we can see it's looking quite organized, quite nice, everything looking really orderly. And this is what the CSS does. It makes it look really nice. Yeah, so the next part is the products. Now for the product display, you can see we have a div which has a class name of small container. And inside that div, we have a h2 tag that says product display, which is right here. Then we have a row, and in this row, we have 4 columns. You can see it here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these 4 columns, that's why we called it call4. They each have an image, which is this img right here. Then they have a h4 tag, which actually tells us what the image is all about. In this case, it's red polo collar t-shirt. And after that, they have a div with a class name of ratings, which uses these icons right here. And these icons are from Font Awesome. And you remember earlier, we pasted the link for the Font Awesome library in the head of the HTML file. So now you can see right here, I'm just going to scroll down. These are the icons right here. You can see the star. The last star that is empty, that looks like it doesn't have a background, is called the FAFA star O. So we can see the different, we have 5 icons and we have 5 stars right here. And after that, we have the price of the goods. So this is the same thing for all the columns. They're basically identical. So that's the whole idea behind this part. Now let's go to the CSS. Now for the call for, we have a flex basis of 25%. Then we added a padding of 10 pixels and we gave each a minimum width of 200 pixel. We also added a margin bottom of 50 pixel. Then this transition here is basically for an effect. We said transform 0.5 pixel, and I'll show you what actually that means. You can see right here when we hover on it, it actually moves. I hope you can see the movement right there. Then for the images, we gave them a width of 100%. I hope you notice for all the images, we give them width of 100% because they're all in a container. We want them to fully take the container's width. Now for the title, which is this right here, product display, we give it an align text center. We give it a margin of 0 auto 80 pixels. And then we give it a position of relative, then a line height of 60 pixel, and a color of this gray right here. Yeah, so this content element right here, we're using it to actually add this line that is below right here. And you can use it with after and before, and it basically just inserts an element into that content. So basically we want it to be below this, and that's why we did after. We added a color of this color right here so we can see it. And then a width, we gave it a width of 80 pixel, a height of 5 pixels. And just to show you that that's what we're styling right here, if I add 30 pixels and save it, you can see how big it is. So yeah, 5 pixels, and then a border radius of 5 pixels, a position of absolute, a bottom of 0, and then we moved it to the left 50%. And this transform right here with translate X is basically just to make it be in the middle. So that's why we put minus 50%. If I change it to 80, you can see it shifts and it's no more in the middle. So 50 keeps it in the middle. That's why we're using 50%, minus 50%. The next part is our H4, and the H4 right here is basically explaining or giving description to the image above it. And we give it a color of this grayish color, and then a font size of normal, and then call p tag. We give it a font size of 14 pixels, and the p tag is this right here, price of the goods. And then we give it a color of black. Then our stars, you can see that our stars are colored with this color right here, this reddish color. You can see that right there. And we also added a hover effect to transform translate Y minus 5 pixel, because whenever we hover on it, you see it actually moves. So that's the effect right here. Now this is how the project looks like at this stage. You can see we have all the content and then we have all the effects. Everything looking with the price, with the ratings, and with the descriptions, everything looking really nice with the hover effect and all that good stuff. So now let's go to the other parts. What we're adding next is we're going to have a brand new section. So we have our product display and then we have a brand new section that shows all the brand new products. I'm sure you're familiar with this with e-commerce sites or websites in general. Now the next part is we're going to add a brand new section that shows all the brand new products. And paste that right there. It's the same as this right here. So it's basically you just copying and pasting. It's the same as what we had in our product section. We just gave it a different title and they have different rows. And inside each row, we have an image with the H4 tag and the ratings, and then the price of the image. So that's the whole concept here. And we have 10 of this. You can see this product display and this brand new, they have the same CSS style, just different content in them. This says product display and that says brand new. Now what we have next is we have a special offer. So we have a section in our e-commerce website where we have daily special offers, and yeah, that's what we do next. You can see right here we have a div with a class name of offer, and inside this offer div we have another div with a class name of small container, and inside that we have another div called row, and inside row we have our columns. So we have call to, we're using the call to class name right here, and we have our image, and this image right here also has a class name of offer image. And below that we have another column, and this column actually describes the picture or the product above it or beside it. And you can see right here we have our p tag, we have our h1 tag, and we also have this small tag, which basically goes in depth in the description of the product. And after this we have another div, and we gave it the name class name of button, and this div right here has an anchor tag with a button, and you can see our HTML code right here. I will leave a description to the website where you can get these codes right here. You'll see different codes for different icons you want. This p tag right here, I'm sure you're not seeing it, and why you're not seeing it is because the color is the color of this background. It's white. So if I come here and just save this, then you can see the p tag right here. You can see only available in this store. So that's the thing. If you do your HTML and your CSS work well, you will just do it once, and then you can use those class names on, and that way you don't need to keep on styling them or restyling them. So yeah, this is the right way to do it. And now when I enlarge it, we can see how the website looks like. We have our products display, we have our brand new section, and then we have our exclusive section, which has a product that is exclusive to this website. And we have the description, we have the name of the product, and then we have a button that has the hover effect that we can click on. Now for the CSS, I'm going to remove this right here because we don't need it anymore, but you can leave it as black if you prefer it with black, but I'll save it, and then you see it's white because I think it looks better as a white color. And yeah, that's for that part, because I wanted us to be able to see it when I'm just showing you everything that is in the HTML. And it couldn't show because it was the same color as the background. That's why I changed it to a different color. And that's why I'm changing it now to this color, because after adding the CSS, we can see that our background is radial gradient, and it's this mixture right here, this mixture of red and blue. After the background color, we have a margin top with 80 pixels, and we also have a padding of 30 pixels and 0. Next, for this image right here, we gave it a padding of 50 pixels. And for the small tag, we gave it a color of this hash FFF, which is white. And that's it for the exclusive offer. The next part is the testimonials, like you can see right here. So now let's put the HTML for that part. Now for the testimonials, we have a div with a class name of testimonial, and inside that we have the small container again. And I hope you've seen the whole concept of this. We're basically doing the same thing because it helps with our styling. And then inside that we have a row. And in that row we have column 3, and we've used column 3, we styled column 3 earlier. That's why you see that this actually looks a little bit styled, but we will still add some more styling to it to make it look perfectly alright. We also have an icon, and this icon is this quote that you can see right here. And right here I'm going to give this p tag, because we can't see it because it's the same color as the background. I'll give it a class name of test, short for testimonial, and I'll do the same right here. Just copy it and do the same right here. And now we go to our CSS. Give it a color of black, and now we can see it. After our p tag, we have the ratings div again, and with all the items for the ratings like we talked about earlier. And after that, we have the image, and this image is this one right here, the image of the people giving their testimonial. And after the image, we have a h3 tag, which shows their name. And we do this for all of them right here. So this is very congruent. It happens here, it happens here, and it happens here. They're very identical. So there's no need of really going over each of them because it's the same thing. Now let's style the testimonial. You can see what happens when we actually style it. You can see how nice it looks. So let me explain what we did here. We give the main container, which is the class name testimonial, we give it a padding top of 100 pixels. And then the testimonial column 3, we give it text align of center. We give it a padding of 40 to 20 pixels, a box shadowing to give it this real nice feeling, and this almost like 3D feeling of 0020 pixels 0 RGB, and added a little bit of opacity right here, 0.1. Let me show you what happens when I add 9. You can see how dark it gets by adding 9 opacity, but 0.1 is just alright. And then we added also a cursor pointer, so when you highlight on the column, you can see that it gives you a pointer, not the arrow. And also a transition of 0.5 seconds, and that's how it moves up. You can see that feeling here. It looks really nice, feels really nice. The next thing is also the images. The image width of 50 pixels, we give it a margin top of 20 pixels, and also a border radius of 50%. And when you do a border radius of 50%, that's how you get this circle right here. I put 20 and you can see it's no more a circle, it's more of like a, a square. But with 50%, we get the perfect circle. The next thing, we also add a hover effect and a transform of -10 pixels. So we can see that's how it moves like this and moves a little bit higher than the other one because that was -5 pixels. And for the quotes, we gave it a font size of 34 pixels and also a color of this reddish color right here. And for the p tag, we gave it a font of 12 pixels, a margin of 12 pixels to 0, and then a color of gray, #777. So now for the p tag, I can remove this one I added earlier on just for us to see it, because the reason I did that was because I wanted us to see it when I'm explaining the HTML, and it was the same color as the background. You can see nothing changes. Now for the H3 tag, we gave it a font weight of 300, and the H3 is the name, so we can see that's why it looks more thicker, and then a color of this grayish color and a font size of 16 pixels. The next part is the brands, because when you go into an e-commerce website, you always see the brands that actually sponsor that website. So that's what we're doing right here. And we can see the different brands right here, PayPal, Coca-Cola, and all that. And the way we did that too is we had a div, gave it the class name of brands. Inside that we have the small container, and then we have the row, and after that we have our column 5. And each column has its own image, and those images are the logo of the brand. And when I enlarge this, you can see it right here. We have different one. So now let's style it and see how it looks. Now we can see right away that the color of the brands change. But why does it change? Let's explain it. So for the main container, we gave it a margin of 100 pixel auto. And also we gave it the column 5 a width of 160 pixels. And then the image, we gave it a width of 100, give it a cursor pointer, and then this filter grayscale 100%. And this filter grayscale 100%. And what this does is it basically makes whatever it is in gray. So we gave it a color of gray 100%, or we made it gray 100%. And I can change this to 50 and you see it won't be that gray. It's a little bit, it's a mixture. Now it's 50 gray and 50 the color of the image. Change it back to 100, but you can see right here we also have the same thing right here, column 5 image, but we have a hover effect on it. And when you hover on it, we change the grayscale to 0. So that's why when you hover on it, you can see it gets back to the original color of the logo. So that's all we did for the logo, nothing too much. Just gave it a width, put some hover effects on it, And yeah, now it's time for the footer section. And for the footer, you can see we started with a div again. Yep, lots of div in this project. So we started with a div with a class name of footer, and inside this div, we have another div with a class name of container. And inside that, we have another div with a class name of row. And inside this, we have our first footer column, and that holds a h3 tag that says download our app, and then a p tag that says app for Android and iOS mobile phones. That's this right here. Then we have the images, and we have two images, and they basically are for App Store and Play Store. Then our second footer column has an image, and this image is this right here. It's our icon or logo. And after that, we have a p tag that has like the logo, the slogan of the company. And the third footer column, we have our useful links, and we have coupons, blog posts, return policy, and also become an affiliate. And these are all in UL and LIs, so unordered lists and LI elements. The next part for our column 4, our footer column 4, we have the followers. So this has our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to actually really make these links active, you would have to add an anchor tag right here. And after this, row right here, you can see we have a HR. This is a horizontal line. And after the HR, we have a P tag that shows the copyright. And that's that right here. So now let's style it to really see. This is how it looks like when it's not styled. Everything just looks so big and yeah, unordered and all that. But now let's put some CSS to make it look nice. So for the div footer, which is this right here, that holds all this content. We give it a background of black, a color, that means the content inside it of grayish, font size of 14 pixels, and a padding of 60 pixels, 0 and then 20 pixels. So this is left, right, and then top. And then for the p tag, we gave it a font of this color. For the h3 tag, we gave it a white color and then a margin bottom of 20 pixels. After that, for all the columns, that's footer column 1, footer column 2, footer column 3, we gave them a minimum width of 250 pixels and a margin bottom of 20 pixels. And after that, we gave it a footer, and after that, for the footer column 1, we gave it a flex basis of 30 pixels. And for the footer column 2, we gave it a flex of 1 and then a text align of center. You can see that's why it's centered right here. And for the image, we gave it a width of 100% to take 100% of its container, and then a margin bottom of 20 pixels to create some space between the p tag. The next part for our column 3 and 4, we gave them a flex basis of 2% and then a text align of center. And the UL, we removed the list style type to none so we don't have those bullet points. Give the app logo a margin top of 20 pixels. And the app logo image, we gave it a width of 140 pixels. Now for the HR, we gave it a border of none, a background of this color, this grayish color, a height of 1 pixel, and a margin of 20 pixels to 0. And then the copyright, we also gave that a text align of center so it's centered. And this menu icon right here, this menu icon is something we're going to discuss later. You can see how the website looks. It looks really nice. And yeah, exactly what we wanted. Everything orderly, everything looking nice. And whenever you start working on this project, you can always change the colors, change whatever you would like or not like in it. Right now, this is how the website looks like. It looks really nice. But now let's make it responsive. Yeah, so remember that I commented out this place right here, this menu icon. So now I'm gonna uncomment it because now we need it because I'll show you why we need it. What we need is when you see the screen get smaller, you can see that this is almost touching each other. So now I want to create a menu icon that when it's on a mobile view, the icon just shows up, and all we need to do is click on the icon and then we can see all the nav links below that icon. So that's what we're going to use that for. Yeah, so now when I save it, you can see the icon right here looking really big and not looking good at all. But yeah, that's what we want. We want it to be there. So now let's style it and make it look way more better than how it looks. So now after styling it, we can see it's disappeared. Why? Because number one, you see this display right here. We set it to none. And then the width, we gave it 20. Let me remove this display. So you can see the stylings we did. We gave it a width of 25. We gave it a width of 28 pixels and a margin left of 20 pixels. And then we added this display to none. Now, why did we make this display none? What's going to answer that is the JavaScript. So now let's go to the JavaScript. Now for the JavaScript, what we did here is that we got the element by ID, menu items, and this menu items is this right here. Is this right here. This is the menu items. These are all the LIs and the anchor tags for our navigation. And then we gave it a variable name of menu items. And then this menu items.style.max height, we set it to 0 pixels. So the maximum height is 0 pixels. And then we created a function called menu toggle. And this function says if menu item.style.max height is equal to 0 pixel, what happens is that menu.style.max height should equal 20 pixels. That means it should be bigger, the max height. Else it should equal 0 pixels. So we're basically saying when this function is called, if it is equals to this, we should set it to this. But if it's not, if it's equal to this, which is 200 pixel, then we want to set it to 0 pixel. So basically, we're making it that when it's 1, then it's going to be the opposite. So when we click on it, it's going to be, if it's open, if it's 0 pixel, it's going to be 200 pixel. And if it's 200 pixel, it's going to be 0 pixel. So that's what we did right here. And this function right here, menu toggle, is what we added to this on click, which is when we click on the icon, we want this function to be called. Now for this to actually work, we need to set some media query for the screen size. And we're setting a media query for the screen size of 800 pixels. And you can see the nav UL, we gave it a position. Save it right here. We gave it a position of absolute, and then to the top 70 pixel, left 0 pixel, and then a background of this color right here. And then we gave it a width of 100%. And then the overflow, we made it hidden, so you don't see the overflow. We gave it a transition max height of 0.5 seconds. The li, we gave them a display block, a margin right 50 pixel, a margin top 10 pixel, and then a margin bottom of 10 pixel. And then the anchor tag, we gave it a color of white. And for our menu icon, we gave it a display block and then a cursor pointer. So when we click on it, you can see the cursor pointer. And we set this to display none. And now for the media query, we set the max width of 600 pixel. We gave the row with a text align of center. And then for the columns 2, 3, and 4, we gave them a flex basis of 100%. And yeah, that's it. Let's look at how the website looks like. You can see the website fully responsive. Looks amazing, the ecom website. And I will be leaving the GitHub for this project down below in the comments below. If you got to this stage, congratulations. That means you're serious. That means you actually want to learn this stuff. And yeah, hopefully you have your code working well. If it isn't, leave a comment down below. And like, subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. And if you have any question, if your code isn't working, leave it down in the comments below and I'll try to help you out. Hopefully you like the website, hopefully you like the design, and that's it from me. I'm gonna wrap this up and keep things moving. See you in another YouTube video.